Welcome back. In this lecture, you're going to be learning about advanced prompt engineering and fine-tuning. So first things first, what is it? Well, advanced prompt engineering involves using more complex methods to guide ChatGPT's responses. So reasonably, you might wonder, what are more complex methods? Well, we're referring to two things here. Number one, learning to use the different techniques that you've been learning about earlier in this section and learning how to combine them to get the desired result. And number two, learning to use modifiers on those different techniques to get your desired result. For example, if you are using the fourth grader technique, which means you're getting a complex text explained to you like you're a fourth grader, you might find that the result you're getting is too simplistic. So what you can do is you can start scaling it up and use a technique like explain it to me like I'm a sixth grader, a seventh grader, an eighth grader, and just scale up that complexity until you hit your sweet spot. So that is how we start becoming advanced at prompt engineering, realizing the toolbox we have and adapting it. So why should we be using advanced prompt engineering? Well, to gain better control over AI outputs, enhancing accuracy and relevance. And this is all just a fancy way of saying the better we are with our prompt engineering, the better results we are going to get from ChatGPT. Your answers will only be as good as the questions you pose, and prompt engineering is all about getting the questions right. So when is basic prompt engineering not enough, and when do you need to use more advanced skills? When basic prompts are not yielding the desired results, or for more complex queries. So basically, whenever you're using any of the previous methods and you're finding that it's too limited, you're not getting the result you're looking for, that's when you need to start fine-tuning, meaning you need to start realizing that maybe this technique isn't working, or maybe you need to combine the technique you're using together with a different technique. And of course, complex queries might be that you're writing an article and you're looking for different tones of voices for different sections. Maybe the introduction needs to be simplistic, maybe the middle part needs to be more advanced, and maybe you need a bullet-pointed conclusion at the end. All of this is going to require different types of prompt techniques in order to achieve that result. And so how are we going to get advanced at prompt engineering? By understanding AI's mechanism, which you've been learning all about, you can manipulate prompts for better context, tone, or detail. And that's exactly it. You've been learning a bunch of different techniques. Now you're going to learn how to combine them, what results you will get when you combine them, and then how to fine-tune the techniques. In other words, change them up based on the results that ChatGPT is giving you. So first, I'm going to be writing an article using advanced prompt engineering and showing you what it might look like. And then you are going to get your hands dirty and get some assignments where you will get to do the same. So let's get started. So we're gonna need two things in order to start writing our article. And you can do this with me or you can just watch me do it. Doesn't matter. In the next lecture, you're gonna get an assignment. You will be getting your hands dirty anyway. But we're going to start off. We need, of course, ChatGPT, and it doesn't matter if you use the free version or the plus version, they work just as good. And then also we're going to need somewhere to put the text in. I'm going to be using Google Documents. Doesn't matter if you're using MacBook Pages, PC, Microsoft Office, doesn't matter what you're using, just whatever text document. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be writing an article about AI's impact on healthcare, and I have a prompt prepared here. So first, let's look at the prompt and then dissect it. Act as a healthcare expert. Summarize the influence of AI technologies in the healthcare industry over the last decade. Use a professional tone of voice. So there are three different prompt engineering techniques being used here. First, we have the act as technique. We're using the act as a healthcare expert, which means that ChatGPT will be simulating a health expert, which means that the answer we will be getting will be angled through that niche, which is exactly what we're looking for this particular article. And then we're using the summarize technique, summarize the influence of AI technologies in the healthcare industry over the last decade. So rather than getting very specific text, we're getting a summary text. And then finally, we are using prompt priming, giving it some context to how it should be acting. Use a professional tone of voice. Now, chances are this is probably not going to be good enough, but it's going to be a great start. So I'm going to send this away, and then I'm going to start fine-tuning and iterating. So the results are in. If you want to read the results, I'm just going to scroll through. You can pause this lecture and read it. It's not important that you do, but you can if you want to, so that you know what we're working with here. Now, while the text is a good start, start, there are a couple of issues with it. First of all, it's not formatted in a nice article format. Rather, we're getting points here and short summaries of all these different points. The second thing is that it's using quite a difficult language, which is not going to be very read friendly for our article. So I'm going to start off by some iterations. And if you remember, an iteration is when I am giving ChatGPT more context based on the result that I have just received. And once I've done some iterations, I'm going to look at fine-tuning. And fine-tuning is simply adding in or removing a certain prompt engineering technique. So once again, iteration is all about providing additional context from the result you have gotten, while fine-tuning is all about changing the technique based on the result you have gotten. And with technique, we're referring to prompt engineering technique. So I've started working on the iterations, and I've written so far, change it into an article format and use more paragraphs to make it easier to read. Using proper paragraph spacing is very important when it comes to writing articles, especially if you're planning on publishing the articles online. And I've also written, write an introduction and end with bullet point conclusions. So all of this is just iterations. I'm giving it more context so it has a better understanding of what I want. I also want to fine tune it slightly. So here in the beginning where it says, write an introduction and end with bullet point conclusions, I'm going to add, write an introduction where you explain it to me like a fourth grader, and as the article progresses, make it increasingly complex. And then I'm going to change this, end with bullet point conclusions. And while it will understand typos, there's no need to add in the typos if you can see them. So now I'm using the fourth grader technique here as well. And I'm also making my own request. And this is a part of more advanced prompt engineering, where I'm saying, as the article progresses, make it increasingly complex. That is not a set technique in itself, but that is something that I desire for this article. So I'm gonna try sending it out and see what the results are and see if I'm happy with this. So a big part of being great at prompt engineering is about being creative. So let's send this away and see what we get. So the results are in, and I'm just gonna scroll through this. You can pause anytime if you wanna read the text so that you know what we're working with here. Also, I want to show you that it did sort of stop in the middle here. Usually what you need to do at that point is just write continue, and then it will finish where it left off. It didn't at this point, so I wrote continue. It started off with something else. So instead I wrote finish the conclusion section, and now it sort of redid the whole conclusions here and gave us some more. So once again, we're not always going to get the result we're looking for, but we are going to fine tune our techniques so that we make sure we get the results that we need. Now looking up at this is all looking incredible. There are some sections here that I might not be the biggest fan of, but I'm going to show you how I work with that. I'm going to start off by copying all of this, and then I'm going to leave the conclusions because it's down there. I'm going to copy it, jump in here, paste it in. Then I'm going to select Command A to select everything, go down to format, clear formatting, just like that. And now I'm just gonna do my own formatting. So I'm gonna make a header. Let's do this at 18. I'm gonna bold it. I'm gonna select everything and change it into Montserrat. I think that's a nice one. I'm going to center it. I'm going to change all of this text and make it slightly bigger into 12. There we go. And now I would just need to make some spaces here to do a better formatting myself. So as you can see, all of these has lost its formatting, but this is an easy fix for that. I'll just select them, bold them, just like this. And now we have a nice article in no time. So there are some things that I didn't like in here, and there often will be when we're working with ChatGPT, but that is fine. We can continue iterating or fine-tuning until we get what we want. But if there are minor mistakes, all we can do is like this, for example, the doctor's super helper. That sounds too much like talking to a kid. The doctor's helper, I'm fine. Imagine if your doctor had a super smart helper. I'm gonna change that to an intelligent robotic helper. One that could remember millions of things all at once and could see patterns that human might miss. So again, if there are minor things we don't like, we can easily just change them. Now let's head back. I'm gonna grab all of this information, paste it in, clear formatting, change it to Montserrat. I'm gonna change it to 12. I'm gonna bold, format it a little bit. Easy peasy, in no time we're getting an article. Now let's see how we can expand this. So we've gotten a nice article, but we want to expand it and make it even bigger. So now I'm prompting, advise me on what else I should be writing about in this article that has the same theme, AI's impact on the healthcare industry. Let's send it away. And once again, the results are in. You can just pause this lecture and read through this if you wanna see what we're working with here. Now I'm just gonna choose one that I want to expand my article with, and I'm going to go with down here. I think this is interesting. Training healthcare professionals. So now when I create a prompt, I'm going to use a version of the write like me technique, but rather than asking it to write like me specifically, I'm going to ask it to use a similar pattern of writing that it wrote the previous article with. So I'm going to write an article on training healthcare professionals through AI. Write in the same way that you wrote the previous article. I'm gonna send it away and see what we get. And once again, the results are in. I'm going to scroll through it if you want to read all of it so you know what we're working with, or rather the results we have gotten. I am a really big fan of this because it's truly writing like it did in the previous article. We have an introduction here. It's using a super simple language. As it progresses, the language gets increasingly complex. It's still explaining every single word, such as VR for virtual reality, etc., being very clear that the article is teaching the reader something. And at the end, we have a conclusion in a bullet point list and some final words. I'm loving this. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab all of this text, go in, I'm going to move down, I'm going to paste it in, select all of it, format, clear formatting, there we go. And rather than introduction, I'm going to call it Training Healthcare Professionals Through AI. Select all of it like this, change it to Montserrat, going to make it size 12 because that's how I like it. And now I just need to start formatting it properly. So I'm gonna bold this, and that's it. Now we have a big, nice 5-page long article going on here, at least 4.5. And if we go up to tools, that's in here, at least in Google Documents, and then word count, we can see that we have gotten 1,404 words in here. Very impressive. And this is how prompt engineering works in real life. We've been using iterations, which means giving it more context based on the information and the answers we're getting from ChatGPT. And we've been fine-tuning it, which means adding in more techniques and removing some techniques in order to get our desired results. In simple terms, the more you use ChatGPT and the more you learn of the different prompt engineering methods to use, the more advanced you will get, because you will start to see pattern in the results you're getting. So in the next lecture, we're going to start practicing you in this already and make you an advanced prompt engineer. You are going to get 5 different assignments to complete, and that's all I'm gonna say for now. I'm going to let you know more of the context in the next lecture, but just know that this will really expand your horizons and train you well. Hope you're excited. Time to get our hands dirty. See you in the next lecture.